Sure.
We've got Dan and Amin El Hassan also standing by. And
Okay.
we'll get recording.
There's no Stugotz?
No.
There's no Stugotz?
Stugotz is out golfing.
Oh. Maybe it's because that's what I want to do, and I steal every piece of shit from him. It's been a long time since he's accused me of that stupid.
Well, let's start right there with the best
oh gosh,
dad
I didn't know you could hear me, Dan.
He is
How are
Rich
you?
Eisen, one of the pioneers in changing careers from ESPN and making a magnificent success of himself by simply stealing all of Stugotz's ideas.
Yes, that's it. That's why I am where I am today, Dan. But you knew that.
You are the best dad ever.
That's me right here. That's my. This is what I got about 10 years ago on Father's Day, or 8 years ago or so on Father's Day, and I feel like I'm undefeated in this regard.
A lot of challengers over the years, but he maintains his crown. You are also you guys are doing something here. This is a giant weekend for NFL Network, 20th anniversary, which is kind of stunning by itself. You've got the great game from Germany, Kansas City, and the Dolphins, and also, please explain this part to me. Mm-hmm. You guys are borrowing Arlovsky from ESPN to call the game with you. Schefter was on NFL Game Day with you last weekend. NBC is broadcasting the game here in Miami. What's happening with this? This is an NFL Network exclusive, except it's not.
Well, it is an exclusive on NFL Network. You're seeing it NBC in Miami because all games that NFL Network airs is shown over the air locally in the two markets that are playing in it. So that's just I don't know how NBC got it. They must have made a deal or something, but. Kurt Warner, who is with me in the booth in London for 2 games, and will be in the booth again with me in December for a couple of domestic games that we're calling on NFL Network later in the month. He couldn't make it to Germany, so obviously with this matchup being very quarterback heavy and centric with Mahomes and Tua, and these two offenses being what they are. We wanted to get somebody with quarterback knowledge, and that's the beauty of NFL and the NFL Network is we're partners with everybody as much as we are in certain ways competitors. So ESPN appreciate them saying, sure, let's get Orlovsky in your booth for Sunday, and it's going to be me, Dan, and Jason McCourty of Good Morning Football as well. So all three of us together. I'm taking off for Frankfurt after doing my show today, and I'm fired up about it.
Can you tell us what you imagined Wildest Dreams NFL Network would be when you got there? Like, what were you imagining all of this would become, and has it exceeded all you imagined it would become?
It is exactly what I hoped it to become, to be straight up with you, Dan. But, having left ESPN at that time, my head was just completely spinning. I left ESPN late May, and long negotiations fell short, and I got married on June 7th of that year, and on my honeymoon signed my contract with NFL Network, looking at the Venice Canal from my hotel room window, and I faxed it from the front desk of one of the hotels I was on my honeymoon. And so my head was completely spinning. We didn't come on the air again since the 20th anniversary this Saturday until week 10 of that 2003 season. And so I had no idea what it was going to be. I just wanted to make sure it was the best that I could make it whenever I was on camera, which in the very beginning was pretty much like the Truman Show, 24/7, 365. I was the only guy there. So now 20 years later, it's exactly what I had hoped. Where I'm now in a booth calling football games for an international series package after the creation of Thursday Night Football that I was doing the pregame and halftime and postgame for has been spun off to many different networks, now completely to a streaming service, which is nuts. Now Sunday mornings, we're now entrenched covering the draft, and then a whole bunch of things that we originated, from combine coverage to training camp coverage to pro day coverage to schedule release shows and things of that nature are now, I guess, part of the landscape, and that's what we wanted at the time.
Tell us of the challenges the first couple of months.
Oh, gosh. Distribution. No question about it. We were on DirecTV and nothing else. So that was about 12 million homes, and I was in about 112 million homes on SportsCenter. And I remember my wife, who worked with Turner, TNT, NBA on TNT, and she was doing sidelines for them, and she was doing a lot of reporting and hosting and anchoring for NBA TV. The NBA All-Star Game was here in the spring of 2004, just after we launched of NFL Network here in Los Angeles. And I was her +1 for a handful of NBA events. And so I went to some NBA All-Star party here in the old Staples, as they would say. And some guy came up to me and said, I watch you every day. And I'm like, great. I immediately crowdsourced him to see, how do you take in NFL Network? And his response is, what do you mean NFL Network? He had never heard of it. He thought I was still on SportsCenter, which I had not been on since the previous May. I informed this gentleman of that development. He then looked at me. He said, are you all right? I'm like, I could fog up a mirror for you if you'd like, but that was the general sense of things, was distribution. And, sometimes I would do SportsCenters with Stu and everyone else at 2 a.m. and have a walk into the Bristol parking lot, average time of 3:30 in the morning. And I would do SportsCenter wondering who the hell just saw what I just did. And that was multiplied by 100. Every single time I left the set of NFL Network. So that was a major issue. And the distribution wars lasted deep into our first decade. We weren't fully distributed in all cable universes until maybe 8 years in. So that was a long slog, including the 2007 moment, which prior to this weekend's game with the Dolphins and Chiefs, in my mind, is the biggest game we've ever had, which was Brady and the Patriots going for a perfect undefeated regular season in Giants Stadium. We had that game, and there were so many distribution issues that members of Congress and the U.S. Senate were writing letters to the league to basically threaten them to broadcast the game in many different ways, and that wound up being like an exclusive broadcast for us that we were excited about, and it turned into the State of the Union. It was on in 4 different ways. So that was going on early on. So that would be my easy answer, was distribution and viewership.
Rich, how long did it take for people to stop affiliating you or associating you with ESPN? Because I'm going through this now where people say, I watch you guys all the time. I said, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah, I love you. You, Perk, Richard Jefferson. I'm like, I haven't been on that show in like 3 years.
Yeah. You know what? It hasn't stopped. I called 2 games in London last month. Walking through the airport here in LAX, somebody hummed the SportsCenter theme at me, which is great. I don't at all discount that part of my life. I met my wife there. My 3 children are technically babies because of it. It was an amazing 7 years of my life. My relationship with that network is something I do not discount or in any way, shape, or form take for granted. It was an amazing time for me. And, I still cherish so many of the relationships with people that I made there. But it hasn't stopped, and I think it's pretty cool. It's just wild to me when, I'm at school events and, parents of kids who are in my kids' classes are coming up to me saying they watched me and Stuart or Linda Cohn or Kenny Mayne or Dan, Patrick, or keep going on when they were getting ready for school. And here I am at a school event for our mutual children. So it's pretty wild, and I kind of dig it. I love it.
I make you pick one and only one. Best SportsCenter anchor of all time is blank.
Best SportsCenter anchor of all time. Come on, man. You can't just choose one. I mean, there's different flavors.
You can do it. You can do it, according to you. But to you, yes, of course, different flavors. But just craftsmanship, sense of humor, range, the things that you like and admire. You pick one.
I will go. I'm not going to just pick one. I'll go Dan and Keith. I mean, they are the best at it. And in many different ways. That's why they were perfect together. Dan with his dry sense of humor, and Keith with his sense of sarcasm. I'll never forget when I first started at ESPN, Dan. I did a SportsCenter with KO, and he was for one of only a few times not at the ideas meeting that we would have to lead off the day, and so he would always lead those meetings. He was the de facto executive editor of the broadcast that he was hosting. And so we were going to do a home-cooked piece, as they say, which is producers inside the Bristol building would create a script or create a piece about fill in the blank. And the fill in the blank was something to do with Game 7 goalies in Stanley Cup history and some of the best performances by the goalies in Stanley Cup Game 7 history. And everyone was going around the room and trying to figure out who would be mentioned in this piece. And Keith wasn't there. So everybody just tabled it and said, we'll ask Keith when he comes in. And I remember where I was in the it was an old version of what's the buildings are right now in Bristol. And I'm sitting at one of these tables, and Keith walks in with books underneath his arm. I mean, all the way out to here. I had no idea what it was, a bunch of encyclopedias or whatever. And he had a pipe in his mouth, and somebody says, hey, Keith, we're doing this piece about these goalies. And he goes, well, 1930-something or other, New York Rangers, before there were masks, goalie takes a puck off the face, assistant coach comes off the bench, finishes a shutout in Game 5, shutout in Game 6, shutout in Game 7. I'll write the piece. I've got a photograph of him at my desk, and we'll put him over my shoulder for the lead-in. And he kept walking. And I thought to myself, holy smokes, I have a long way to go to even get in the realm of that. That was wild. And then, of course, he nailed it, and it was great. And then Dan Patrick, in his own way, a certain set of brilliance that he still has today, from knowledge and humor and delivery and understatedness. And so I got to split the atom here.
That's fine.
That.
That's fine. But we're out of time, so we have 20 seconds left. Legitimately,
okay.
20 seconons. Who's better, Dolphins or Chiefs?
Come on. I'm calling the game. I got to be straight down the middle here.
No,
move.
No,
it's not. It's not. I'm calling. I'm meeting.
Colin
Cowherd
would
from
never
Dan.
do that.
No, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to.
Literally in 24 hours, I'm meeting with the Dolphins, and 36 hours the Chiefs. But I'm genuinely excited. I've been lighting candles for everyone's health for the last month. The last thing I wanted straight up was Mike White versus Mahomes, and Tua led with his friggin' head at one point against the Patriots last week, and I screamed at the television set. But it seems everyone, is mostly healthy, and I am very excited about it later on this weekend.
Didn't work. Mahomes got the flu.
No.
What?
Light more candles next time.
No, he got the flu last week. He's through it. How dare you? How dare you? Whose disembodied voice is trying to rain on my parade? What the hell is that?
Stugotz.
He hosts the Rich
It's
Eisen.
Stugotz.
He hosts the Rich
Tell him I
Eisen
said hi.
show weekdays from 12 to 3 on Sirius XM and with us on the Roku channel. Thank you, sir.
Adios. Take care, gents.